Look away from the screen for just a moment. Look at your hands. Feel the device you are holding. Listen to the ambient sounds of the room around you. Take a deep breath. Feel the air fill your lungs. It feels incredibly real, doesn't it? The weight, the texture, the temperature. Your brain is telling you with absolute certainty that you are sitting in a physical, base-level reality. But I want you to ask yourself a question that has haunted philosophers for millennia and is now keeping quantum physicists awake at night. What exactly is real? If real is simply what you can feel, smell, taste, and see, then real is nothing more than electrical signals interpreted by your brain. You are a brain locked in a pitch-black, silent skull, receiving data feeds from your nervous system and projecting a three-dimensional illusion that you call your life. You have never actually touched the outside world. You have only ever experienced your brain's internal rendering of it. Now, take a step further. What if that data feed isn't coming from a physical universe at all? What if the sun you feel on your face, the ground beneath your feet, and the very stars in the night sky are nothing more than lines of code executing in a system of unimaginable processing power? What if you are living in a simulation? For a long time, this was the domain of science fiction. It was a fun thought experiment for late-night conversations. But over the last decade, something profound has happened. The greatest minds on our planet, astrophysicists, mathematicians, and technologists, have stopped asking if we are in a simulation. They are now actively looking for the glitches in the code, and they are finding them. In 2003, an Oxford philosopher named Nick Bostrom published a paper that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. It was called The Simulation Argument. Bostrom didn't use spirituality to make his point. He used cold, hard, statistical probability. He proposed that one of three things must be true. 1. The human race goes extinct before reaching a post-human stage of technological maturity. 2. Any post-human civilization has zero interest in running simulations of their evolutionary history. Or 3. We are almost certainly living in a computer simulation. Let me explain the terrifying logic of this. Think about the video games we had 40 years ago. Two squares hitting a dot back and forth on a screen. Pong. Now look at the virtual realities we have today. Photorealistic worlds. Millions of players interacting simultaneously in persistent digital universes. If you assume any rate of technological improvement, even a fraction of what we have seen in the last century, what will our simulations look like in 1,000 years? Or 1,000,000 years? We will eventually build computers capable of running full-scale ancestor simulations. Entire universes populated by billions of conscious, artificial intelligences who have no idea they are in a game. Once a civilization reaches that point, they wouldn't just run one simulation. They would run billions of them. So mathematically speaking, what are the odds that we are the one single original base reality? And what are the odds that we are one of the billions of simulated realities? The math is inescapable. You are billions of times more likely to be a piece of software than a creature of flesh and blood. Elon Musk famously stated that the odds we are in base reality is 1 in billions. He wasn't joking. He was doing the math. But philosophy is not enough for Xendai. We demand proof. We demand physics. If we are in a computer simulation, then the universe should behave like a computer simulation. It should have a frame rate. It should have a pixel size. It should have rendering limits and error-correcting codes. So let us look at the fabric of our universe through the lens of computer science. In a digital image, if you zoom in far enough, you stop seeing the picture, and you start seeing the pixels. The image cannot be infinitely divided. There's a fundamental, indivisible unit of measurement. Does our universe have a pixel? Yes. It is called the Planck length. Discovered by Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, the Planck length is the smallest possible measurement of space. You cannot divide space smaller than a Planck length. It is the absolute limit of the physical universe. It is the pixel of our reality. Time, too, is not a smooth, continuous flow. It moves in discrete, sudden jumps called Planck time. The universe is not a painting, it is a digital display, flickering into existence frame by frame at the Planck rate. What about the speed limit of a computer? Every processor has a maximum speed at which it can compute and transmit information. If the universe is a computer, it must have an absolute speed limit for information transfer. We have found it. It is the speed of light. The speed of light is not just about how fast a photon moves. It is the maximum speed at which causality can propagate through the universe. It is the processing speed limit of the matrix. Why does time slow down for an object as it approaches the speed of light? Because the system only has so much processing power. If it has to render an object moving at maximum velocity through space, it has to divert processing power away from rendering its progression through time. This is Einstein's theory of relativity, explained perfectly by the mechanics of a video game engine. Consider how a modern video game renders a massive open world. To save processing power, the computer does not render the entire world at once. The forest behind your character, the city over the mountains, they don't actually exist. They are just code. The computer only renders the specific trees and buildings that your character is looking at, in the exact moment you are looking at them. The rest is a wave of mathematical probability. Now look at quantum mechanics. The most famous, most baffling experiment in human history, the Double Slit Experiment, proves that subatomic particles, the building blocks of everything, do not exist as solid matter when they are not being observed. When unobserved, they exist as a wave of probability. Maybe. It is only when a conscious observer looks at them that the wave function collapses, and the energy crystallizes into a solid particle. Why would the universe behave this way? Because it is the ultimate, hyper-efficient rendering engine. The universe does not exist in a solid state behind your back. It is waiting for your observation to render it. You are the player, and your consciousness is the rendering beam. If this isn't enough to shake your foundation, let us look at the work of Dr. James Gates, a theoretical physicist at the University of Maryland working on string theory. String theory is our best attempt to understand the absolute fundamental operating system of the cosmos. Dr. Gates and his team were studying equations relating to supersymmetry, analyzing the fundamental building blocks of the universe. Inside these equations, they found computer code. Not something that looks like computer code, not a metaphor. They found a specific digital error-correcting code called Shannon code. This is the exact same code that runs in your web browser to prevent errors when transmitting data. A digital, binary, error-correcting code, written by a man named Claude Shannon in the 1940s, is literally woven into the fabric of the cosmos. How does a man-made computer code end up buried in the mathematics of the universe? The answer is as terrifying as it is beautiful. The universe is written in code. Thousands of years ago, ancient mystics in India and Egypt looked at the world and declared it to be Maya, an illusion, a dream of the gods. They said the physical world was a dense, heavy projection of a higher spiritual reality. They did not have the vocabulary of computers, pixels, or rendering engines. They used the language of their time. They called it a dream. Today we have the technology to understand the metaphor. A dream is a simulation generated by a sleeping brain. A simulation is a dream generated by a waking computer. The mystics and the physicists are standing on opposite sides of the same mountain, pointing at the exact same peak. But here's where we must pivot. Here's where the philosophy ends and your personal transformation begins. When most people hear about simulation theory, they experience a profound existential dread. They feel a sense of nihilism. If none of this is real, if I am just a line of code in a cosmic hard drive, then what is the point? Why should I care about my job, my struggles, my pain? Does anything matter? This reaction is the ego's final, desperate attempt to keep you small. It is a fundamental misunderstanding of the simulation. If the universe is a simulation, it does not mean your life is meaningless. It means your life is programmable. If reality is a physical, immutable, solid thing made of dead rocks and random chance, then you are a victim. You are a tiny, fragile creature at the mercy of a chaotic universe. You can do nothing but brace for impact. But if reality is a simulation, if reality is code, then reality can be hacked. If there is a system, there are rules to the system. And if you learn the rules of the local system, you stop being a non-player character, mindlessly following the script written for you by society, and you become the programmer. You become the architect. You must understand the difference between the avatar and the player. The body you inhabit, the name you answer to, the past you remember, that is the avatar. It has stats. It has a history. It has programming. For your entire life, you have believed you are the avatar. You have suffered when the avatar suffered. You have felt trapped by the avatar's limitations. But the real you, the consciousness that is aware, the observer looking out through those eyes, is the player holding the controller. The player exists outside the simulation. The player is pure, limitless, untethered source energy. When you realize you are the player, everything changes. The pain of the past becomes nothing more than a difficult level you had to clear. The anxieties of the future become nothing more than rendering possibilities. You stop taking the illusion so seriously, and because you stop taking it so seriously, you stop resisting it. And in that state of non-resistance, in that state of detached, amused observation, you gain access to the developer console of your life. How do you hack the matrix? How do you access this developer console? You must understand the programming language of the system. The simulation does not run on C++ or Python. It runs on belief. It runs on frequency. The subconscious mind is the algorithm that translates your internal frequency into external holographic reality. Think about how a computer works. You type a command on a keyboard, the processor translates that command into binary code, and the monitor displays the result. Your conscious, analytical mind is the keyboard. Your subconscious mind is the processor, and the physical world you walk through every day is the monitor. Most people are furious at the monitor. They look at the screen of their life, the lack of money, the bad relationships, the failing health, and they try to wipe it off the screen. They yell at the screen, but you cannot change the image on a monitor by scrubbing the glass. You have to change the code in the processor. Every time you say, "I am not good enough," you are inputting a line of code. Every time you panic about money, you are executing a command program. The subconscious mind, the processor, has no sense of humor. It does not judge. It simply takes the command, compiles it, and renders it on the screen of your reality. It is a perfect, flawless machine. Your life is not failing. Your life is succeeding perfectly at rendering the exact code you are feeding it. To hack the simulation, you must become ruthlessly disciplined about what you input into the processor. You must learn the art of overriding the default programming. When you were a child, the adults around you, the culture, the media, installed malware into your system. They told you what was possible and what was impossible. They built the invisible walls of your simulation. To break through them, you must install a patch. This is the true purpose of manifestation. Manifestation is not about wishing for a car and having it drop from the sky. It is about rewriting your internal source code so profoundly that the simulation has no choice but to render a new environment to match your new data. The most powerful hack in the simulation is the hack of assuming the state. In a video game, if you enter a cheat code for invincibility, you don't walk around hoping you are invincible. You don't cower in fear, wondering if the code worked. You walk directly into the fire, knowing with absolute cold certainty that you cannot be harmed. You assume the state of the code you entered. You must do this in your life. If you desire abundance, you cannot vibrate at the frequency of wanting, hoping, and wishing. Wanting implies you do not have it. The simulation hears, "I do not have it," and renders a reality where you continue to not have it. You must generate the emotional frequency of having it now. You must walk through your current, limited reality with the swagger, the peace, and the absolute certainty of the player who has already entered the cheat code. When you do this, when you hold a frequency that completely contradicts your current environment, you create a glitch in the matrix. The simulation cannot hold two opposing truths. If you absolutely, deeply feel wealthy, but your bank account is empty, cognitive dissonance occurs in the quantum field. The system must resolve the error, and because your internal frequency is the prime directive, the system will collapse the old environment and rapidly arrange synchronicities, opportunities, and sudden shifts to make the external monitor match the internal processor. The universe will literally bend around your conviction. But you must be aware of the system's defense mechanisms. The matrix is designed to keep you asleep. It feeds on your reactivity. When you try to wake up, when you start trying to change your code, the system will test you. It will send you a bill you weren't expecting. It will send an old toxic person back into your life. It will create drama. This is the pushback. The simulation is showing you the old code to see if you will react to it. If you get angry, if you panic, if you fall back into despair, you have failed the test. You have accepted the illusion as real. You have identified with the avatar again, and the new code fails to compile. The master hacker does not react. The master hacker observes. When the unexpected bill arrives, you look at it and smile. You recognize it as a ghost of the old program. You say, "I see you, but you are not my reality anymore." You maintain your 0-point focus. You hold your new frequency. By refusing to react to the illusion, you starve it of the energy it needs to sustain itself. It fades. It unrenders. You must cultivate the power of the silent watcher. There is a space between a stimulus and your reaction. In the sleeping masses, that space is non-existent. Something happens, and they react instantly with anger or fear. In the awakened player, that space is a vast ocean. Someone insults you, and instead of reacting, you pause. You observe the insult floating in the air. You observe the chemical reaction trying to happen in your body. And you simply watch it. You realize that you are the sky, and the event is just a cloud passing through. You do not have to become the cloud. This detachment is your ultimate superpower. It makes you untouchable by the matrix. We are living in a time of mass awakening. The simulation is upgrading. The glitches are becoming more obvious. Time feels like it is speeding up. The old structures of society, the old paradigms of control, are beginning to fracture and break down. This is not the end of the world. It is the end of the illusion. The system is rebooting, and you are being invited to write the new operating system. Do not be afraid of the strangeness of reality. Embrace it. Play with it. Test the limits of your own consciousness. Start small. Command the simulation to show you a specific, unusual object today. A blue feather, a specific sequence of numbers. Hold the intention, feel the reality of it, and then drop it completely. Watch how the matrix bends to put that object in your path. When you see it, do not pass it off as coincidence. Acknowledge it. Nod to the system. You are building trust in your own programming capabilities. You are not a physical body navigating a cold, dead universe. You are a localized point of infinite consciousness, exploring a hyperdimensional digital sandbox. You came here to play, You came here to experience the thrill of limitation, so that you could experience the absolute glory of remembering you are limitless. Take off the heavy headset of your past. Stop identifying with the character on the screen. Feel the controller in your hands. Feel the hum of the quantum field waiting for your command. The rendering engine is standing by. The canvas is blank. It is time to log in. It is time to execute the protocol. Wake up, Player One. The game is yours.